We apologize. This was kind of thrown together rather prompt too. This briefing this morning is going to accomplish a couple things, and I'll read off the order of the speakers. We first want to provide you an update on where the situation stands, what's going on with the fire, our fallen here at home, and also get an update on what the process is moving forward. The speakers for today, and I apologize, the order has changed slightly. We will begin with Mayor Kuykendall. That's Mayor Marlin Kuykendall, City of Prescott. That's Marlin Kuykendall. He will lead off. He will then introduce Governor Jan Brewer. I would assume most of you know how to spell her name. We will follow then with the City of Prescott Fire Chief, Dan Fraijo. That's Fraijo, Dan Fraijo. And then we will wrap up with Mary Rasmussen. She is the Southwest Area Incident Management Team. Her last name is spelled Rasmussen. Each speaker will comment, make a few statements, and then following the four speakers will be available for questions for a certain amount of time. I would ask all of you to be very patient during this process. I think many of us, our phones have rang 50, 60 times for interview requests. We are having this event this morning to try to get some general information out there, and we will accommodate the personal interview requests and media briefings as we see fit the best way moving forward. So with that, I'd like to bring up our speakers today with the mayor and the governor and others. Thank you, sir.
Are we live?
We are live. Make sure you've got a booming voice, but make sure we hit them.
Good morning. Thank you for being here, even under these circumstances. It shows a lot to the world what Prescott is made of to have this turnout. And ladies and gentlemen of the press and the media, thank you for being here. I represent the city of Prescott, and to show the strength of this city, we have our entire city council and our entire management team. Raise your hands, guys and gals. Okay. You'll get a lot of information a little bit later, but just a few things I would like to express on behalf of the city. Number one, we have to recognize that there's still a fire going on, and there's still men and women on the fire line doing their job as they always do, and they still have work to do. Also, we have 19 young men that lost their lives yesterday afternoon, and we're here to honor them, but even as much, we're here to honor the families of those 19 individuals that still have years of their life left and work to be done. So we thank them. Last evening, everybody was together down at one of our schools, all of the families that were able to be there, and it was an experience, but it was also at the end of the day a joy to see these young people still able to do the things that they have to do, and we're very proud of them. The entire community is very proud of these people. This morning we've had calls from lots of places. Early on we had a telephone call from the White House to express the concern and the appreciation for what these young men did coming from the President of the United States. We appreciate that. Senator McCain called from overseas. I didn't ask him what country he was in, but he offered his condolence and said he could be here within 24 hours if we needed him, and we respect that and we appreciate it. Congressman Gosar had scheduled a meeting this afternoon with some of his constituents from Washington to talk about some of the problems that's going on in our capital, and they've changed the purpose of that meeting to an event to honor the young men that we're here to honor today. The community has been wonderful by bringing more food than probably this whole group could eat in 2 or 3 days to be used for its purpose in helping the families at least take a break from the events that they would have normally have had last night. So that said, I have the great honor to introduce a lady that we've been friends for a while. She was in Los Angeles this morning, made a flight to Phoenix and another flight to be here today, and insisted that she wanted to be here to speak to you and to express her thanks for what you're doing and what our community is doing. So with great pleasure, your governor, Jan Brewer.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. So I can, Well, thank you all, each and every one of you, for joining us here this morning. I am so sorry that we come together today under these very tragic circumstances. Yesterday, not far from where we are standing, the Yarnell fire exploded into a firestorm that overran the local Granite Mountain hotshot. 19 lives were lost. Brave men who gave their lives in defense of friends, neighbors, and perfect strangers. The Yarnell fire is the deadliest wildfire in Arizona state history and our nation's deadliest in 80 years. To the friends and the family of those lost yesterday, I know we can never fully repay the sacrifices made by your loved ones, but we can honor their service with our gratitude and prayers, and through our steadfast dedication to do whatever is necessary to bring this fire under control before it causes any more heartache. As Governor of Arizona, that is my commitment to each and every one of you. This morning, I signed a declaration of emergency to make available additional state resources to fight this fire. My team and I are in close contact with local officials, and we will look to them for what they need. And we are also coordinating with the federal officials. The state has requested and received a fire management assistance grant through which the federal government will cover most of the costs fighting this fire. While we mourn the firefighters lost yesterday, I want to be mindful of the hundreds who remain in harm's way as they continue to battle the Yarnell fire, and our prayers are with them. In this tragedy, there remain many unanswered questions, and there will be time to find the answers that I know each and every one of us seek. I said last night that my heart was breaking. I just can't even imagine how the families and the friends that knew these individuals feel. It just is unbearable, I know, for many of you, but it is unbearable also for me. So we know that the pain that everybody is trying to overcome and deal with today. So for now, we mourn. Consider this: the Yarnell fire claimed the lives of more first responders than any single disaster since 9/11. Just as we honor the memory of the firefighters lost that day as they charged into the burning towers, we will remember the brave men of the Granite Mountain hotshot. Let's all remember them and their families in our prayers. Let's remember those firefighters that are out on the line, continuing to battle the raging flames that are there. And let us all ask God to bless their families and ask God to protect Prescott, Arizona, and ask God to protect the great state of Arizona. Thank you. Amen.
Police Chief Dan Fraijo will now speak to the situation here in town, and then Mary Rasmussen will talk about the Yarnell fire.
There's probably no greater burden for a fire chief to have to deal with than talking to families where they've lost their loved ones. They're very strong, they're holding up well, our organization's holding up well, but we're going through an incredible period of grief. We appreciate the fact that the media has respected that, and we will be getting information to you as quickly as we can. As for now, what I can say is that those 20 firefighters were dedicated, hardworking, well-trained, experienced people. Whatever the situation was that took place, we haven't been able to explain yet, but there's an investigation that's going to be taking place. So I'm asking you to be further patient. I don't have any more information other than what I told you last night or what I'm telling you today. Simply, it's under investigation, so please respect that part, and also the families. We will be releasing the names of the individuals. We'll be doing that as a press release. It will not be done at this particular time. Whatever may have happened there will be understood someday, and we will be able to take that terrible tragedy and hopefully be able to build on that and provide safety in terms of lessons learned and further training and those sorts of things. But just so that you understand, every briefing that we do in the morning on fire situation like that, first of all, the first objective is firefighter safety. The second objective is personnel safety or residential safety. And the third one is to protect property. Those gentlemen were in the position of, at that point, protecting property when something tragically took place that only Mother Nature might be able to explain, which caused them to become casualties. So on behalf of the fire department, we appreciate the patience you've extended. We'll get you information just as quickly as we can. If I don't have an answer for you, I'm just going to simply say, I don't know. When we get the information, we will get it to you. But please don't pry into some of those areas that we will simply refuse to answer and then assume that we don't want to answer. We are very open with our information, but some of it we just simply do not have. So I'll be available for questions after Mary gives her discussion, and we'll be more than glad to answer any questions you may have.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Mary Rasmussen, and I represent the Southwest Area Incident Management Team, commanded by Tony Shaka. Now, today we are transitioning to a team, our other sister team for the Southwest Area Incident Management Team, commanded by Clay Templin. They are going to be assuming command of the fire before 6 p.m. today. relieving the state Type 2 team that's been in place over the last couple days enduring this tragedy. So for the latest fire facts, we're reporting the fire at the 8,374 acres, and that's based on an aerial flight taken this morning. We are reporting 0% contained. We have more than 400 firefighting personnel out there, and the objectives for today are primarily these. First and foremost, retrieving the fallen firefighters from the scene and getting them into a medical examination. Secondly, engaging on 3 flanks of the fire to actively suppress it and secure the threatened homes there in Peoples Valley and Yarnell, especially on the east side of the fire. And then, of course, we are going to be continuing on with the investigation as to the causes and circumstances around this tragic event. That's all I have.
We'll take about 10 or 15 minutes for any questions you might have. I would encourage you to please follow up through our PIO office for personal one-on-one interviews, that sort of thing, but I'll help facilitate the questions for you. Sir?
What can you tell us about the sole survivor? I understand you might have been lookout. How was he doing, and what can you tell us about it?
We're not sure exactly. That's one of the bits of information that we got, or that he was repositioning an apparatus to a more strategic location. Luckily, he was not involved also as a casualty. Yes?
What the number of dead and how many were from your hotshot team?
The entire hotshot team consists of 20 people. 19 were fatalities.
And were there 19 people killed and then the 20th person?
19 were fatalities, 1 survived.
So no other persons not on the team?
No.
Quite a few search and rescue crews going in today. Any chance that there may be other fatalities that aren't firefighters?
To the best of our knowledge, there weren't others. The casualties have been removed. At this time, they're on their way to Maricopa County to the coroner's office, but there were no other casualties that we know of.
At this time, what's the number of houses that you guys are estimating, and have those houses been checked for possible?
I don't have that information. Once we started dealing with our personal losses, we got the other people dealing with the fire. Well, what I can tell you is, from a personal point of view, I knew these folks. They were always excellent employees. They were always very respectful. They were very dedicated. They're the type of people that keep themselves in condition to take 70 or 80 pounds 5 miles into a wilderness and put themselves between the fire and you. That's what it really amounts to. Well, there's several aspects to it. The fact is that the dedicated people that are still here are on stations. They're mourning, but they're responding. If there's an incident that takes place in the city of Prescott, we'll be there. We also have assistance from other fire departments. Central Yavapai, Chino Valley are automatically there to support us, and as a matter of fact, they have people there at the moment. The grief is going to take place, but the services will continue. But they're taking it difficult. Well, it depends. That depends. Part of their duties might be to go to a location to deal with fire directly on the fire line. Others might be to possibly be 1 or 2 miles away. As it's determined, they'll cut a line and move back towards the fire. They have many activities. It requires special training. Just as an example, in order for a person to work a saw, they have to go through a process to be able to work a chainsaw and be able to identify the type of vegetation, wood, and those sorts. Wildland firefighting, ladies and gentlemen, is a science in itself, just like fire suppression in buildings is a science within itself.
Chief, what can you tell us about the particular assignment these men were involved in at the moment that the fire was involved?
I don't know.
Chief, can you describe the scene where the dogs were people removed? Can you describe
No.
how far apart they were, what you said?
No, I don't know. We don't have that information.
Chief, who's conducting the investigation? Is there anything you can tell us about the process?
The first part of it is being done by the Sheriff's Department, and then I'm sure that the Forestry Department is going to be doing theirs. I can't tell you to what extent it goes beyond that. Yes? I don't have information on it. The only person that did survive was not at that location because they had another assignment. No, I can't.
Chief, can you talk about
Excuse me.
Most of them were, but some of them were from out of town as far as I know, but I can't tell you exactly the numbers.
For Mary, were there any civilian casualties?
Civilian.
The question was, were there any civilian casualties? No.
How about injuries and number of buildings destroyed?
Number of buildings destroyed is over 200, but I have to refer that back to the Yarnell Jail Fire Information folks directly.
Chief, what do you say to their families?
Ask again.
What do you say to their families, their wives, their kids?
The question was, what do we take to the families?
What do you say?
Oh, what do we say to the families? Of course, it's trying to share the loss with them, trying to share the grief with them, trying to comfort them, trying to let them know that there are mechanisms in motion that are there to assist them. Currently, we have an incident management team. Currently, we have an incident management team that's working in City Hall, which is a staff of people from all over the state that are literally coordinating those activities as we deal with grief.
Chief, any possible distraction that the firefighters may have to deal with because they're back out there today while dealing with the tragedy at the same time?
The only distraction that I would say would be how they're dealing with the grief. But once the alarm goes off, so to speak, they're there and they're fully engaged.
Chief, when the hot shots radioed the command center, they were looking for a secure spot. Was there any further communication after that, and were any aerial assets able to come in and attempt to save them?
Typically speaking, I can only say this. Typically speaking, they have a safety zone that is designated that they would report to if there is a danger. For whatever the reasons, they might not have made it. I don't know. I think, Mary, were there air assets there at the time?
Yes, there were.
There were.
Air assets in terms of air tankers or possible medevac helicopters?
There were the air tankers.
Were there any helicopters that could have evacuated that?
The question was, were there other air resources besides air tankers? There were helicopters helping at the request of the firefighters on the ground for various assignments. We don't know the specifics at this time of why the events added up the way they did. That's part of the investigation.
A couple more questions. Excuse me.
Can you clarify that? All 20 of these men members of the police force were
The question is, who did the hot shots work for? They work for the Prescott Fire Department in the city of Prescott. All 20 of them, yes. Yes.
Structures, or what's the most immediate danger today as far as where the fire is?
I don't know that. We wouldn't know. They may have had cell phones, but no, we have no information. No, not that I know.
A few more in the back.
Well, what we have been saying since yesterday when we notified them, we got them together and we spent time grieving together. There was people that were praying. There were tipped people, the volunteers that go out for assistance, which they did an outstanding job. We had clergy that were there. For the most part, we grieved together. And that was the time to grieve. But then we, as I said before, we informed them that there were mechanisms in place that are there to help. And so that's what's taking place right now.
Okay, two more there, and then we're going to wrap things up and do some one-on-ones after
At a
this.
time like this, everyone wants to know how they can help, what's appropriate at this early hour.
The outcry for help has been incredible. Typical of Prescott, the friendliest city in the country, we have a tremendous outflow. Our incident management team is set up to where people that may want to make donations, they'll coordinate it. People want to volunteer to send food and those sorts of things, they will coordinate all those activities. But typical of Prescott, a lot of help. I've probably gotten 150 texts from people that I don't even recognize their name, giving condolences, and many of them are from other countries, but especially from here in Prescott.
Chief.
No, the hotshot crew is, the question was that what percentage of the fire department. The hotshot crew is a whole separate division. Our suppression division, which are also wildfire trained, is about 75 people. Our wildland division was the 20 people.
Chief, we'll do one more, and then we'll be available for interviews following this. So
Maybe this is a question best for the mayor, but this is the biggest week of the year in the city of Prescott. The world's oldest rodeo begins tonight. There are fireworks scheduled from the 4th of July. The huge Frontier Days parade is scheduled for Saturday. Are these events going to be altered, changed, canceled, or proceed as scheduled? The answer is no.
No.
It will go on as scheduled.
That's correct. But keep this in mind. Keep this in mind. It gives us an opportunity to be able to recognize the people that made those sacrifices. It also brings it back to the significance of the day. This is not to do it despite them. In many respects, in conversations we had, it was to honor them. So I'm sure you probably, for those of you that enjoy rodeo, I'm sure that you're going to hear moments of silence at every rodeo event, and certainly at the fireworks event. And every time one of those goes off, just thank God that we're here.
okay.
No, there won't be. The rains that we have now have lessened considerably, but we take extensive measures, even if we are in the dry season, to protect the neighborhoods. We pre-water areas. We have other hotshot crews that are staged in locations where they can respond immediately in case there are spot fires. We take every precaution. As an additional precaution, the people that are setting those fireworks off, they have the large 8-inch mortars, which are the big spectacular ones, and we can reduce those to 4-inch mortars where the fallout is lessened and the exposure is lessened.
Okay. Thank you all for coming. We'll stick around for more questions. We appreciate your time. Thank you. Oh, folks,